Hey everybody, I'm Tasha with the Major Change Group, and today we're going to be talking about the Navy Federal Auto Loan Pre-Approved process. Y'all, it's been about 3 years that I had my auto loan with Navy Federal, and it was like the smoothest process that I ever had. You'll have to check out my videos around that, but today we're going to talk about one of the most commonly asked questions that I get around the Navy Federal Auto Loan Pre-Approved process. So let's get into it. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to take a look at this comment. The main question that he's asking in this comment is, does the dealer send Navy Federal a check for the difference if the car is less than the check? Now, we're going to come back to the other parts of this. Now, when you call Navy Federal, some of the questions that they're going to ask you is, do you rent or own? What's your annual salary? Are you going to have a co-signer? And they're going to ask you, how much do you want your check to be? Also, they're going to ask you, do you want a new or used car? And it all does definitely make a difference. Then you really want to go over to the website because the website has so much good information, because depending on if you get a new or used car, that's really going to determine what your interest rate is going to be. But you will tell Navy Federal, okay, I want to get a car for $20,000. And so for me, that's what I said. I wanted a car for $20,000 because I had did the math, because I really didn't want a high monthly note. And so I said 20,000 is good, but technically I really wanted my auto loan to be maybe like 17,000 or something like that. I really wanted it to be under 20,000, but I got the check for 20,000. So what they tell you is, once you get the check, and they certified mailed the check to me, and it came pretty much within 2 days, because I was approved on a Saturday, and then I got the check like that Monday, maybe Tuesday. So then they tell me that if I find a car that's over the amount, all I have to do is call them, and possibly they could just send me another check. But depending on how much you go over, then they might have to do some other pre-approvals. But all you have to do is call them back. But I knew that I really wanted my car to be 20,000 or under. So technically, once you go to the dealership and then you pick your car, all that stuff, and so then you'll go back to the accounting department, and then so whatever that final amount is. So for instance, let's say since my check was 20,000, and let's say if I found a car for 15,000, that my final offer was 15,000. That's what we agreed upon. So when we go to the accounting, they're going to call Navy Federal up, and they're going to follow the instructions on the back of the check. And then my loan is going to be for 15,000. So there really is the amount left over is 5,000. So then what happens with that 5,000? And that's what the person is asking in the comment. So with that extra amount, is that going to go to their dealership, or what's going to happen? So what happens is, it's like, really, technically, I guess you really like forfeit the 5,000, but really you're just pre-approved for 20,000 or whatever you want to be pre-approved for. And then so technically I can go up to that, but I can't exceed the 20,000. So it's like I'm just approved for this amount, like they hold the 20,000, but then once the dealership calls them to say, well, Tasha got a car for 15,000, 15,000 is what my auto loan is going to be for. And then the other 5,000 is just gone. And my loan is only going to be for 15,000. And so really that's what happens. And so it really just depends on, what you want to do. And so for me, I knew that I did not want to go over 20,000. And so I got pre-approved, and I told Navy Federal 20,000. But let's say if I was shopping around and I found the car and it was, let's say, 25,000. Then really all I have to do is call Navy Federal up and say, well, I know my check is 20,000, but it says do not exceed 20,000, but I found this car for 25,000. And then they will either send me a check, or they're gonna, maybe they might ask me for some additional information or do another approval to send me a check for the 25, and then I will get another check. So I think that it's a very easy process. It's a very easy process. I'm telling you, like, this was the easiest car transaction I ever had, especially since I had the check from Navy Federal. But as long as you don't go over whatever the amount is on your check, then you're good. And even if you go under, because I always want to negotiate to go under. I don't really want to go over, but everybody's process is going to be different, because once you go looking for a car, on the one hand, you don't really know, possibly, you don't really know what you might find. You might find a car of your dreams that's over or under. But I was able to find a car. Well, technically, the car that I found was over 20,000. I want to say it was 26,000, and I negotiated them down, and then I ended up trading in my car too, and so I had got some money for my car. So it was 26,000. So I guess I was able to negotiate it down to 23,000. And then the car that I had, they gave me about 3,000 or a little bit more. And so that's how I was able to get at 20,000 on the dot. So that's how I was able to do it. But I'm telling you, easiest process ever. And then, so once I left the dealership, I want to say maybe 2 days later, Navy Federal sent me a text message to go over to the Navy Federal site in the app, and I had to sign my promissory note. And then my promissory note had that it was 20,000, and technically my loan was for 20,200, I believe, because I got gap insurance. So I got gap insurance, or 20,400, because I had got gap insurance on my car. And so that's how much my loan was for. And so at that time, 3 years ago, the lowest interest rate was 2.19 for, I want to say I had did 3 years, or maybe I did 64 months. I don't know, but I paid the car off within a year. But I want to say at that time, the lowest was 1.79, but you had to do under 3 years. But now the lowest interest rate is about 4.29, if I'm not making a mistake. But most definitely go over to the site and check out the different calculators that they have. And then also go on to the Loan You Later app. Go into your app store, and the Loan You Later app is very good because it'll give you the interest rates and things like that. But technically, you can use it on the Navy Federal site. But the Navy Federal site has so much information, and plus, because you can either go onto the site or you can call. But I called, and I had pretty much finished my application probably within 30 minutes, but that's because I had asked a couple different questions. But the process is so easy. So let me know if you have any other questions, but I would say that's the most common question that I get, like, what happens with the remaining money if you don't get the car for the exact amount on your check? And it doesn't matter if it is, 1,000 less. Then if you got the check for 20,000 and your car was for 19,000, then it would only be for 19,000. Another question that I get all the time is, when do you tell the dealer that you have a check? And so here, this is a seasoned salesman, and he says, do not go to the dealership and tell them you already have financing already arranged to buy the car, because basically they're going to try to take advantage of you. And so I thought that was so funny. Now, for me, I didn't tell my dealer right off the bat. And so basically, I had taken a look at some cars, and we had even test drove a car. And then once we came back, the man, he had stopped to talk to another person because originally I wasn't going to trade in my car because I already had a car, and I want to say I owed 3,000 for it, and I wasn't going to trade it. And so he was talking to the other man, and he was just like, well, if it doesn't matter in what shape the car is, if you can get it here or we can get it here, then you can trade it. And so then that's when I thought, okay, I'm gonna trade my car. And so that's how I did the trade. And then after that, that's when I told the man, okay, I have a check for Navy Federal, and I'm gonna not do any financing. And I did not let them run my credit. So do not let them run your credit. But I didn't tell the dealership right off the bat. But my dealer was also very nice. So when I told him that I had a check, he did not try to get me or sway me to say, well, here are the offers that we have, or let me run your credit to see what interest rate we can get you, or anything like that. So I had a fabulous dealer. But like this person says in the comments, don't tell them too soon, because they might try to, really haggle you a little bit more. But my dealer, he was very good. So let me know what you think in the comments, and let me know if you have any other questions in regards to Navy Federal Auto Loan pre-approved process, and I will try to get the answer for you. But you can also check out, because I do have a few other videos as well. But I hope that you found this video helpful. Please like, subscribe, share with a friend, and turn your notification bell on so you will be notified when new content drops. I thank you so much for watching. Until next time. It's not a game.